Today we have a special guest. It's Mr. Ramsey, USAID Senior Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Africa Bureau. Welcome to Mozambique and welcome to Media Lab.
Thank you. Obrigado.
We are honored to have you in our studio. So, during the US-Africa Business Summit, which is taking place here in Maputo, the USAID Administrator, Mark Green, he spoke about the journey to self-reliance. Yes, and he explained how countries are increasingly taking charge of their own development and become more prosperous and independent by growing the private sector. What would you say the journey to self-reliance is for a country like Mozambique?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and it's delightful to meet you and your team, and thank you for the tour. The journey to self-reliance is really a different way of thinking about development work. And when we say the journey to self-reliance, it really is an organizing principle so that everything that USAID is doing in partnership with our host countries, in this case Mozambique, is to help them along their way towards a day in which they can plan, implement, and finance their own development to their development challenges. And we believe that this is an innate desire of every country to lead their own development. And so it's a recognition of that partnership, and it's a celebration of that partnership. The American people will be supporting the people of Mozambique on their journey for many years to come, but we certainly want to help Mozambique move to that day when that foreign assistance is no longer needed.
Yes.
That's ultimately the goal.
Yeah, definitely. And still talking about the summit, the US-Africa Summit, the United States government presented Prosper Africa initiative. And also indicated that it would sign a memorandum of understanding with the Mozambican government to increase bilateral trade and investment between the two countries. Can you explain a little bit what basically Prosper Africa initiative is and how it's leading the economic development in Africa and in Mozambique particularly?
Sure. So Prosper Africa it's not necessarily a program, but it's really it's a banner initiative under which a lot of our programs will focus. But it's a whole of government initiative to try to substantially increase two-way trade between the U.S. and African nations. We really believe that American companies have a very good value proposition, and we want to partner with African countries, again, on that journey to self-reliance, so that our relationship is not only based on aid, but it's also based on a trade-based relationship and an economic relationship. So we want to prioritize programs that are advancing not only the commercial interests between Africa and the U.S., but also the ability of African countries to engage in the international economic system. So we're going to focus a lot of our attention on what is it going to take for American companies to come in more force to Africa, and then also what kind of constraints or trade barriers are there within the existing regulatory framework and policy framework that we can help to kind of remove so that American companies will be more interested in investing in Africa. Primarily because we see there are wonderful opportunities here on the African continent, and we think that's good for African development, also good for African business, which means it's going to be good for all of Africans.
Yeah. But in economic theory, trade benefits all sides. But Africa history of trade has shown that trading relationship between African countries and foreign countries always end up benefiting the richer countries who end up being as exporters of processed and low value added raw materials. What measures is the United States government taking to ensure that increased trade will benefit ordinary people in African countries?
We believe in fair trade, and fair trade for both sides. We believe that American companies have a superior value proposition, but they also represent American values. And American values and principles are based on the rule of law. And so this is something that all American companies are going to bring with them when they express interest in working with and trading with and investing in African nations. So when you work with American companies, what comes with them are those American values and principles, which we hold very dear to us, and we believe is a reflection as a people as to who we are.
Okay. So As you may know, our country, Mozambique, has about, we are very young. We have a very young population,
Okay.
and the median age is about 17.3 years.
Mm-hmm.
What message does USAID, and you in particular, have for the youth about the future? Can we remain optimistic?
Oh, I think you should. I think that there's so much hope and there's so much excitement in Mozambique. And I've been here just a few days. But my love affair with Africa started here in Mozambique about 20 years ago as a backpacker.
Oh.
As I traveled around Southern Africa, and I spent about 2 months here in Mozambique. And that same optimism, that same ingenuity and creativity that I saw 20 years ago here as a backpacker is still alive and well. And so I think Mozambique should be incredibly optimistic about their future. There's a tremendous amount of opportunities here. Like all across the African continent, the population it's in a demographic explosion. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of young people coming into the workforce. That's a tremendous challenge, but it's also a tremendous opportunity. We're looking at over 350 million people on the African continent will be between the ages of 15 and 24 by the year 2025. The labor force here will be bigger than China, bigger than India. Over 1 billion people will be entering the labor force. So the challenge part is that there's about 18 million jobs that need to be created on the African continent every year for the next 20 years. That's about 2,000 jobs an hour that have to be created to meet the demand of the young people coming into the workforce. But at the same time, it creates a tremendous opportunity to really tap into that creativity and ingenuity. Because as we all know, young people don't think of the ways that probably we do, or even our parents do. They're much more savvy in ICT. They're much more creative in terms of solving a lot of the challenges that they're going to be faced with. So African governments have to be able to support the youth as they come up, and we'll be there to stand with them.
Yeah. Still talking about self-reliance and the journey to self-reliance, and what you've just explained about the future. We as Mozambicans and Mozambican organizations, we are very pleased that the United States government, the USAID, they've created and they've set up, a platform to benefit local organizations, to basically promote localization and to promote organizations like ours to basically have the opportunity to contribute for our own development and working closely with the private sector. On behalf of all of us, I wanted to say thank you very, very much, and we actually look forward to continue partnering and working with USAID in ways that we can better contribute for our future and for the development of this country.
Thank you for saying that. I think that's really reflective of the partnership that the U.S. have in Mozambique. And I think Mozambique is a perfect example of this principle that we're really focusing on in terms of the journey to self-reliance, and that if a country is willing to make difficult decisions and really commit to their own people, then they're going to have a friend in the United States, and we're going to be there to walk alongside them.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for making the time and for being here.
Thank you very much.
So we had today Mr. Ramsey as our guest. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.